Water pressure in the house. How much bar are usual in the EFH? Usual water pressure in the house. Check water pressure. Water pressure variations. If the water from the tap just runs as a small trickle or almost shoots out of the tap, in most cases, a false water pressure is the cause. If the pressure in the pipes is not high enough, it is not only difficult to wash your hands or take a shower, even equipment such as boilers or washing machines can no longer perform their function properly. Are you the proud owner of a family house with several floors and a bathroom on the top floor, whose water comes from the faucet with little pressure or even causes problems when flushing? Usual water pressure in the house. Whether you live in a new or old building, the recommended water pressure in a family home is between 2 and 4 bars, depending on the region, the water supply and the size of the building. For this reason, there are also indications for a water pressure in the house of 3 to 4 bars. In general, too little pressure cannot effectively provide all floors with water and therefore a higher one is recommended. This is based on the ground floor, which should be provided with a pressure of 2 to 3 bars. Especially for new buildings are enough 2 bars. Then the following values are added per floor. New building, 0.5 bars. Old building, 0.35 bars. Since classic single-family homes are only 2 to 3 stories high as a new building, the already mentioned range of 2 to 4 bars is completely sufficient for your home. The reason for adding more bar is the way the water pump works. As water is pumped up from the line, the pressure decreases with each floor. Thus, in a new building with ground floor and 2 floors, a water pressure in the house of about 3 bars is necessary. Ground floor, 2 bars. First floor, 0.5 bars. Second floor, 0.5 bars. Old buildings. As you can see, the recommended value differs only in very few cases, since single-family homes are not built as high as multi-family dwellings. An exception to this are many old buildings that have more than 5 floors. For these, a much higher pressure must be set so that the water can reach the very top. A more accurate calculation of the required water pressure in the house is achieved by the necessary bar per meter. This means the possible supply rate over the lines. A bar is sufficient to cover a distance of about 10 meters, which often corresponds to the ground floor and basement where the water supply is stationed. In this way, you can calculate exactly how much cash is needed for your home. If your house is on a slope or in a higher position, the following water pressure should be used. 4 to 5 bars. There must be a water pressure of 1 bar on the top floor of the house. Because the statics of houses on slopes or elevated beds is different, a higher water pressure in the house is needed. You should never set an operating pressure of more than 10 bars, as this value represents the maximum for the domestic installations. If you exceeded this value, you could damage the pipes for the water of your home, which is not exactly cheap to repair. How to check the water pressure, see below. Tip: the bar values mentioned refer not only to individual buildings but to entire areas. For example, a pressure of 0.5 bars is recommended for each additional floor if your family home is in a development area, while 0.35 bars is for urban areas that were built over the years, of course. Check water pressure. Check water pressure in the house. If you are not sure whether the water pressure in the house meets the specification, you should check it. Checking the water pressure can be done by yourself without any problem. A professional is not necessary for this check. The first signs of a water pressure in the house, which does not quite fit, is a too strong or weak issue of the water. If the water comes out of the faucet even on a small scale like a stream, the pressure is definitely too high. On the other hand, if it is weak and the amount of water dispensed is small, you must increase it. For more details, see the following methods for measuring water pressure. Valve on the water pump. Pressure reducing valve. The pressure reducer is the best option to effectively check the pressure in the house. This is a valve which can be found near the house connection. Mostly the valve is in the basement or in separate rooms, if you do not have a cellar, which is typical for new buildings. The pressure-reducing valve is a component that measures the incoming pressure of the water and presents it via the built-in pressure gauge for reading. Look at the left of the 2 pressure gauges to find the incoming pressure. The great advantage of the valves is the permanent display of the pressure. That means that if you adjust the pressure, it will be visible immediately. Manometer. Yes, there are separate pressure gauges that allow you to easily check the water pressure in the house by yourself. The devices are mounted directly to the faucet and the incoming pressure is measured in this way, which allows an accurate result. For assembly, you need a double nipple, which must be present in the appropriate diameter, so that no water can escape and thereby falsify the measurement result. Once the unit has been installed, you must turn on the water and read off the value. Manometer. Bucket method. Alternatively, you can use a bucket with a capacity of 10 liters to determine the existing pressure. This version works completely without gauges with the use of a stopwatch or any other watch with a second-hand offers. Of course, the use of your smartphone or computer is possible. To measure the existing pressure, place the bucket either in the shower, bath, a sink or sink. Now turn the tap as far as possible and measure the time until the bucket is filled. You can use the following values to determine the existing pressure. 12 seconds, about 10 bars. 25 seconds, about 5 bars. 38 seconds, about 3.5 bars. 50 seconds, about 2 bars. These values tell you immediately if the pressure in the house is too low or too high. Nevertheless, as a precaution, you should use a pressure gauge to avoid grosser measuring errors. Unfortunately, this method is a bit dirty, so a second check is recommended. Tip: depending on the design of the pressure reducer, this even takes care of the automatic adjustment of the water pressure in the house and is therefore an effective device for a permanently not too high pressure. However, a too low water pressure is not regulated by the valve and must be adjusted accordingly. Water pressure variations. Too high or low water pressure causes. In order to maintain the recommended water pressure, certain sources of error or problems typical of the pressure drop must be prevented. These causes can be numerous and disturbing, especially in single-family homes, since the treatment often requires a professional. The following points will give you an overview of possible causes of inappropriate house pressure if it has been set to the recommended level. Faucet water pressure. Calcium deposits. Lime in the pipes is problematic and can reduce the pressure steadily over time. Your lines are particularly affected by lime if you live in a region with hard water and do not use filter systems. For this reason, more and more limescale settles in the pipes, which reduce the pressure, since less water passes through them. Here, only a lime removal is helpful, through which you can reach the usual bar value. Water filters. A water filter has two sides. On the one hand, it filters lime out of the water and thus effectively counteracts pressure reduction. At the same time, the water has to travel a longer way to the faucet, since filters are usually connected directly to the water pipe. This results in a slight reduction in water pressure in the house. At the same time, it is important to replace the filters over time as they no longer function properly due to deposits. This is recommended at regular intervals. Pump capacity. In rare cases or in a few regions, low water pressure may occur due to poor pump performance. The problem is the fact that the pumps do not carry enough water and thus cannot produce the required pressure. Problems due to the pump performance usually appear suddenly, for example when a failure of the pump works is to blame. Water pumping station. Even the smallest deposits or just a connected device can reduce the water pressure in the house. If the water has to travel a long way or does not get through the pipes very much, you absolutely must do something. Especially with dirt and debris, the problem can worsen over time, whereby the pressure continues to decrease and only a small trickle comes from the faucet. This is particularly annoying when a professional cleaning needs to be